I will now resume our meeting after we've got our technical difficulties sorted out here. And I will turn it over to Carrie Snoddy, Manager of Waste and Sustainability.
Okay, good morning, Warden and Council. Cambium is with us today to present the draft updated Waste Management Master Plan. But before we get into their presentation, I just wanted to give a bit of background and context as to why we're bringing this forward today. So throughout 2024 and early this year, county staff in Cambium completed the process of updating the plan. As you'll see in the presentation, the plan process included consultation with township staff through interviews and workshops, as well as consultation with residents and our waste management committee. The initial waste management master plan that council approved in 2013, that was worked on back in 2012, was intended to be updated every 5 years, but it has not been updated since 2013. And there have also been many changes, as you're aware of, in the province with waste management legislation since then. So the plan was really due for an update. And the draft plan that Cambium will be presenting on includes a 5-year implementation plan with a series of initiatives, including key performance indicators to measure success. And I also want to note that I have a report that will follow Cambium's presentation seeking council endorsement of the updated plan in principle, with a direction for staff to present phased program implementation over the next 5 years as part of annual budget consideration. So we're not seeking any budget commitments today. And if council does endorse the plan, it's not endorsing any individual initiative in the plan either. It's a guide for waste management staff to use to develop our work over the next 5 years. And we will come back to council with details on individual initiatives for approval before anything goes forward. And so with that, I'd like to introduce Devin Bro, the project manager with Cambium, to present the draft plan. And he's also joined by Stephanie Reeder, who is the group manager with Waste Resource Management at Cambium, to help answer any questions. Thanks.
Very well.
Good morning, Council. Thank you for your time today. We're going to present the Peterborough County Waste Management Master Plan. Is there a slide clicker? Okay, sorry. Next slide, please. This is the final stage of the overall project work plan, the presentation report to Council. Next slide, please. The agenda for the presentation will go over the goals and objectives of the update, highlight previous waste management master plan success, summarize waste audits and composition, as well as stakeholder consultation carried out. We'll present the options evaluation criteria used to score the recommended options, and finally present the recommended options themselves and the promotion and education implementation plan associated with supporting the option recommendations. Next slide, please. So the goals and objectives. The goals of the update are to optimize waste management, improve waste reduction, and expand outreach. Next slide, please. The objectives to achieve these goals are to streamline diversion programs, implement new initiatives and ideas, improve education and training initiatives, address outstanding 2012 Waste Management Master Plan objectives, improve circular economy initiatives, and address non-eligible source recycling options. Next slide, please. Waste Management Master Plan success. In 2012, when the previous Waste Management Master Plan was developed, the county had a diversion rate of 43%. Through the implementation of option recommendations, the county achieved a diversion rate of 55% in 2023. This is 5% shy of the goal for the Waste Management Plan. The update aims to improve and the continuation of diversion rate and waste management operations and services for the county. Next slide, please. So waste audits and composition. Waste audits were completed in all 8 townships. The goal is to estimate waste generation rates, identify waste composition, and outline opportunities to reduce outline opportunities for waste reduction and diversion programs. Through our findings, there's a significant amount of organic material, over 55% of total waste. This consisted of food waste, green bin backyard compostables, and pet waste in the garbage stream. There was also a noticeable amount of blue box recyclables, textiles, and reusable materials found in the garbage stream. Next slide, please. The county waste audit composition is presented herein. As you can see by the 3 shades of green, just over 50% is comprised of organic material. There's also a notable amount of textiles, over 3%, and collectively almost 7% of recyclable containers and fibers. Next slide, please. Stakeholder consultation. So stakeholder consultation was carried out through meetings with the county and waste management committee. Township workshops were used to gather input related to their interest in the recommended options. Public surveys were used to assess current waste management services, waste management practices, and the input on the proposed options. Finally, township interviews were conducted to review current waste services, the county involvement, and the proposed rules. Next slide, please. So the options evaluation criteria. We developed an options evaluation criteria to score the recommended options from low, medium to high based off of cost, diversion, feasibility, and stakeholder acceptance. Options with relatively low cost, high diversion, feasibility, and stakeholder acceptance consequently received a high score, while options with relatively high cost, low diversion, feasibility, and stakeholder acceptance received a low score consequently. Next slide, please. So after evaluating the options, we brought forward 11 option recommendations. Next slide. Option 1 is to continue providing curbside blue box collection services to non-eligible sources and work with townships to coordinate depot non-eligible source blue box services. We recommend that the county conduct further consultation and engagement with non-eligible sources, and direction has already been given by council to put out a negotiable RFP, as the current legislation leaves producers not responsible for managing non-eligible sources. The estimated increased diversion is 165 tons per year. And this option received a low rank based off of cost and feasibility, but providing service and continuation is a necessity. The timing for the option is proposed implementation in 2026. Next slide, please. Option number 2 is to promote alternatives to managing leaf and yard waste, such as mulching or composting at home. This is applied promotion and education where residents learn hands-on. We recommend pilot programs with local farmers and mulching incentives for residents. Promoting alternatives will reduce curbside set-out and generation. The estimated diversion from landfill annually is 100 tons. The overall rank was high and the cost is less than $10,000 with proposed timing for implementation in 2026. Next slide, please. Option 3 is to increase promotion of existing community services. We recommend that the county investigates partnerships with Share Reuse Repair Hub, powered by Circular Innovations Council, to develop a platform for public access and hub locations, or a similar platform. Option 3 could be implemented in conjunction with option 4, supporting existing external reuse centers and programs. The focus of this is on increasing overall publicity and engagement and supporting external infrastructure in the process. The estimated diversion from landfill is 200 tons annually, and the overall rank was high. The estimated cost is around $15,000 with proposed timing for implementation in 2026. Next slide, please. Option 4 is to support existing external reuse centers. The amount of waste reduction will depend highly on proposals from the community. Further engagement is recommended to assess community and business proposals. External reuse centers are a viable option for promoting waste diversion, and the estimated increased diversion from landfill is 100 tons annually. The proposed timing is implementation in 2029. Next slide, please. Option number 5 is to promote food waste reduction, public education, and workshops. This includes education and outreach may require additional staffing or resources. Workshops can be carried out at community events and facility tours. Food waste is a major contributor to garbage generation, composition, and reduction is the most cost-effective option for operations. The estimated diversion from landfill is 700 tons annually. The option number 5 received a high score, and proposed timing is implementation in 2028. Next slide, please. Option 6 is to increase circular procurement policies and/or principles. The county is to lead by example for increasing circular procurement and establish clear policy and strategies to prioritize circular procurement. We recommend involving relevant stakeholders like suppliers, contractors, and internal departments in developing and implementing the circular procurement practices. We also recommend collaboration and partnership with municipalities and industries to share best practices, resources, and applied knowledge. These considerations help build a framework for circular procurement that supports sustainability and resource efficiency. The increased diversion from landfill is unknown, but this initiates a shift in the economy with the potential to significantly impact the community. The overall cost is minimal for this, as it is simply carried out through bid document specifications, and the proposed timing is implementation in 2027. Next slide, please. Option 7 is community and business waste reduction incentive programs. The county can offer incentives for businesses to adopt circular practices, including tax credits, grants, and recognition programs. Sustainable practices could include reducing waste of product or service. This will result in cost savings for collection and processing operations. The estimated diversion from landfill is also unknown, but this initiates a shift in the economy with potential to significantly impact the community. The proposed timing is implementation in 2028. Next slide, please. Option number 8 is to improve public education and outreach about composting programs. A variety of tools and strategies will be utilized to reach a diverse demographic. Managing organics through multiple programs alleviates operational load for curbside organics collection programs. This has the estimated increased diversion from landfill is 80 tons annually. The overall rank was high, and the proposed timing is implementation in 2026. Next slide, please. Option number 9 is weekly curbside collection for food organics. Weekly collection will help aid with public concerns with organic material buildup, smell, and animal concerns. The operational cost of an organics program will help alleviate portions of the garbage program cost. The estimated increased diversion from landfill is 4,500 tons annually and 3,500 tons for the 5 townships participating. An RFP has already been issued and costs will be confirmed. The proposed timing is implementation in 2027. Next slide, please. Option number 10 is to expand receiving locations and end users for textiles. We recommend resources and collection bins at local charities, nonprofits, and other locations. We also recommend collaboration with retail stores that offer in-store recycling and forging connections with local thrift stores. Cornerstone Recycling Rewards is a program that will actually supply bins and collection at no cost to the county. We also recommend forging connections with nonprofits and collection bins at educational institutions, grocery stores, and community centers. The estimated diversion from landfill is 40 tons annually. The overall rank was high, and the proposed timing is implementation in 2029. Next slide, please. Option 11 is to expand education and promotion of textiles. By implementing educational and promotional strategies, the county can encourage more textile reduction, reuse, and recycling within the community. Promotion and education of these programs is recommended and would benefit option 10. This can be carried out through educational programs at schools, online resources, workshops, and community events. The estimated cost is $5,500 to $15,000, and proposed timing is implementation in 2028. Next slide, please. So after bringing forward and ranking the recommended options, we developed a promotion and education implementation plan to support these option recommendations. When utilizing the promotion and education plan, it is important to consider the various outputs that can be utilized to reach your target audience. Social media campaigns on various platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, etc. are great tactics to share engaging content. It is important to consider multi-channel communications like paid media advertising with a mix of print, radio, television, and digital media, as well as media relations with a mix of digital, social, and traditional media to reach a wider audience. Interactive content can be leveraged through the use of quizzes, polls, and videos to engage the community, and influencer partnerships can be developed through collaboration with local environment-focused influencers. Community engagement events can be carried out at local cleanup drives, recycling workshops, and seminars. And finally, a rewards program can be implemented to incentivize recycling through points, prizes, or even rewards. Or bin stickers, sorry. Next slide, please. So the P&E implementation plan provides a suite of communication tactics utilized to promote diversion options. The plan focuses on prioritizing existing platforms to keep the implementation costs low for the county. Media releases, public service announcements, and paid advertising can be put out on local newspapers and radio stations. Social media channels can be utilized to promote social media campaigns can be launched on various media channels, already discussed. But it is important to consider the evolving nature of these platforms when you're deciding which social media channel to utilize. The county website and county app are an already existing platform that is great to keep pushing communication tactics to a select audience. Tactics with $0 allocated are typically internalized costs related to staffing or already existing tools. Next slide, please. The implementation timeline for the options recommends 4 options implemented in 2026, 2 options implemented in 2027, another 3 in 2028, and finally another 2 in 2029, all carrying forward for continuation. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, the options recommend direction to expand outreach, optimize waste management, and implement waste reduction strategies. Key programs were assessed, implementation options were identified, and communication and engagement strategies were developed. KPIs and evaluation tools provide a framework for monitoring progress, ensuring the success of the recommended options, and communication and engagement strategies utilized. The promotion and education plan provides planning, implementation, and evaluation approaches. This is a comprehensive approach to addressing current opportunities and challenges and presents a robust 5-year implementation plan, including the 11 prioritized options. Next slide, please. Thank you very much for your time today, Council. We'll open the floor for questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Devin, for the presentation. We'll open it up for questions, and Deputy Warden Senes.
Thank you very much to you, Warden. We are just being asked to receive this, and you went through that really quickly, but I just want to acknowledge that this is a really good in-depth master plan that the county can use, and I want to thank Cambium for the work you've done on this. Thank you. Questions? Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Through Warden. Thanks for the report, Devin. Very complete. One of the areas that you mentioned early on in the report was the diversion or lack of diversion of recyclables. 7% is still going into the landfill. Is that coming from residential or is that coming from commercial? And I understand landfill still allows that at a higher rate. I didn't see anything in the plan on how we were going to eliminate recyclables in the waste stream.
Yes, so thank you for your question. Limiting the amount of recyclables in the waste stream for residents. So to answer your question, yes, that is residential contamination into the garbage stream. But most of that is reached through the promotion and education plan by reaching select demographics in the same manner that you would with the organics program.
That's fine. Thank you.
Councillor Whalen?
Well, thank you, Madam Warden. Devin, in the future of this thing, I thought maybe there'd be something in here about what we're going to do when the landfill's full. You got 5 years of options here. I'd like to know your opinion, first of all, on incineration and where would we ever get a say into whether this would be an option or not?
Thank you for your question.
Devin, I may refer that to staff.
Thank you. I'd just actually like Carrie to speak to that. That is a staff related question and wasn't part of the scope of the project, but I'll refer to Carrie. Thanks.
Okay. Don't sit down, Devin. They're busy.
So we didn't include that in this project, but it is something that is on our work plan right now. This year, we're starting conversations with the city of Peterborough because we share that site. And it is in the budget of the landfill budget this year to go out for a consultant to start the terms of reference for an environmental assessment for future options. And that would look at all options, including incineration, including any other landfill option that there is for the county.
If I can just follow up, Jim, being part of our waste management committee and knowing that the EA takes such a long process, We're now looking at going forward and getting that started with the city, and all options are on the table, all options.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Black. Oh, Councillor Armstrong, I think was first, and then Councillor Black.
Thank you, Warden Clark. Thanks very much, Devin. Just an observation. You kind of glossed over it, but on slide 9, encouraging the diversion rate has moved from 43 to 55%. But on that same slide, it showed that total waste per person has gone up 16%. So that's a number that I think we need to stay focused on. I think a lot of your options are focused on education, et cetera, but it's really a consumer behavior thing where people have more waste. And how do we reduce it at source as opposed to trying to deal with it after the fact?
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important metric. I'm glad you put it on the slide, but I do think we need to stay very focused on that. Because going from 0.078 tons per person per year to 0.091 tons per person per year is not a success metric in my mind.
So yes, thank you for your question and the input. So you brought up a very important point. A lot of the diversion has been from a lot of the promotion and education and diversion programs that have been implemented from the county. But the generation of garbage per capita is still going up.
Yeah.
So although we've improved our diversion, we're still producing more with a higher population.
Exactly. Good point. Thank you. Councillor Black, then Councillor
Yep.
Taylor.
Thank you through your word. Remembered my second question. It's with respect to the organics, and obviously organics is the biggest contributor to the volume and tonnage that could be diverted from landfill, and council's currently going through looking at a number of options on how to manage organics. I think it's something that has to happen. And it may be out of scope for your presentation today, but the options around organics beside collection in built up areas. Are you familiar with programs that have different options as far as just curbside, particularly because we have such a rural community, options around different ways to manage organics? Do you have any experience with other communities that have maybe curbside in built up areas and countertop composters or backyard composters in more rural areas?
Yeah, so I think, thank you very much for your question. So I think that touches on option 3 and option 2. So as we kind of muddled over, going over the other options to promote diversion in rural areas, because Peterborough County has a very diverse demographic, these programs will have to be tailored to specific municipalities. But like I said, diversion through promotion and education and other options as opposed to curbside is definitely a lot more cost effective for the county. The weekly curbside needs to be done to retrieve that food waste, because it's going to end up in your landfill. With that comes, greenhouse gas releasing and the amount of material that you're accepting in the landfill. So you're not only going to increase the landfill life, the capacity of the landfill, but you're also going to increase or decrease the amount of greenhouse gases and other issues that are going to come with that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's thankful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Councillor Taylor and then Councillor Huntley.
Thank you, Warden Clark. Thank you, Devin. I just want to confirm that it's my understanding that the some of the estimated costs with the various options that you provide is an annual estimated cost. It's not a cost that's spread over the lifespan of the program. Is that correct?
Correct. That is an annual cost.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. That's it, Councillor. Okay, thank you. Councillor Huntley.
Yes, thank you, Chair, through you. That's just an observation as well, is, on, I think it's slide 11, like there's kind of the full picture of, the county waste consumption and broken out into percentages. But then as you go through each of the options, you're more or less talking about it in tonnages. So it's kind of hard to relate the percentages to the tonnages. You know, and then when you get down to the end of it, like, it would have been good to kind of see that audit composition with the effect of all of these options put into place. Like, what was that overall reduction on that picture, and what would the, you know, as a tonnage concept as well as a percentage concept. So it's kind of, you start and then you go through all the different options, but you don't really show what the net result of that is. It would have been really good to see that at the end.
The cumulative impact is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly, yes.
Thank you for your question. So in the report, we actually carried out analytics based off of population, generation, and diversion. So the report does touch on this, but we didn't extrapolate numbers to consider implementing each option and what would be the outcome.
Maybe that's something that could be calculated by our staff and then shared with the rest of council, because that is a good point. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, and through you, Warden. So on a similar vein of Councillor Huntley, I'm curious about how we got to some of these estimates, and I know they're estimates, but to me, the one that stuck out the most was with regards to the education and outreach programs around organics waste. You know, a 700 tonnage annual reduction seems like an astronomical amount of a result from an education workshop, or multiple workshops. I'm sure they would be not just one or different outreach. And so I guess I'm kind of just trying to figure out, similar to the tone of Councillor Huntley's comment, I was trying to get to, okay, so if we implement all these things and we achieve all the objectives, what does it yield? And so, you know, that's why I'm kind of focused on some of the tonnage, because it matters. If we're about 10,000 tons a year, you know, if we implement all of these things and we achieve all of these objectives, well, we, you know, could reduce that tonnage by approximately 4,800 tons per year, assuming all the numbers are right, and assuming there's also not duplicity in counting those, because if there is an organics collection program, like that tonnage of 700,000 reduction from the outreach might not be accumulated from the 3,500 that already exists, right? So I'm kind of trying, it's very complicated to get to that number and understand from a tonnage standpoint where this is going to get us, because at 48, you know, 4885, adding up all the tonnage as it's extrapolated in your presentation, it gets us to about 4 to 5 months. So, you know, for every year that we achieve all of these targets, you get about 4 more months of landfill. And so I think that's where I'm trying to go to understand, you know, we talk about this 10-year, it's been 10 years since I've been around, which is, you know, when we're in year 7 now. So I'm always concerned about, you know, is there a tonnage amount that we have left? And I'll probably ask Harry those sorts of questions later, because it's not so much pertaining to your presentation. But I wonder if you can speak to a bit about some of those estimates.
For sure. Thank you for your question. It's important to note that the Waste Management Master Plan and the update are a working plan. So this is something that was going to be constantly developed over time. And when we created the estimates and scored the option recommendations, it was based off of the current state of the waste management operations and services. As you mentioned, you know, food waste is a really low-hanging fruit in terms of diversion. And the other options are showing that there are cheaper ways to achieve that outcome through promotion and education, to have you know, residents divert properly. Food waste is over 50% of the garbage stream. So, you know, cutting that right out, if you're able to get that down to 0, you just cut it in half, right? So when you're looking, you know, when you're looking at the tonnages, these do really have the potential to increase that much diversion, depending on what is being utilized. So, you know, as you said, it's hard to gauge the outcome of options as they're carried out. So that's when another update would have to be done, or reevaluation, re-aim your goals and objectives, and then move on from there.
Councillor Graham.
Okay, I take that point. I guess I'm still just struggling with regards to the quantification. So maybe this is an easier question. So when we talk about the 3,500 tonnage reduction from the organics pickup in that option that, you know, we're still vetting and doing some due diligence on, is that, when you mention the 5 participating townships, does that encompass pickup throughout all of the residents in the townships or just the urban centers?
Yes, it encompasses all residents.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to add a bit more to it, this analysis and certainly the 50% that we have of organics, this was sampling residential garbage bags across the county, correct?
Correct, Warden. Yeah.
Yeah, so therefore, the education portion, but still with that 50% of the green waste, people just like to get rid of it and in it goes. So that was startling to think 50% was, so thank you. And Sheridan?
Yeah, thank you, and through you. I just, for clarification too, the various options in the report are options. And so when they come forward by staff, they would be accompanied by, if adopted, there's no assumption that all the options would be adopted. So then if you're totaling it all up, it might give a picture that council was saving this much tonnage when in fact you're only adopting 4 of 10 options, or so the net impact of those options that are adopted through each report and approval will be carried out by staff in terms of tonnage in those options as we bring them forward in budget.
Thank
If
you.
I might add, Warden.
Certainly.
So, and you know, as we mentioned, like when these options are carried out and implemented, there's going to be a lot of other promotion and education that comes along with that. You know, we touched on the rewards program. Similar municipalities, when they've changed operations for waste services, what they're receiving at the curb, they'll implement stickers or some way of getting back to the resident, and that'll be when you implement an organics collection program or a clear bag program, whatever it is, you want to follow up and make sure the residents are participating. Thank you.
All right, we do have a motion in our package and just to receive the waste management master plan update and moved by, I'm looking online, moved by Councillor Nelson and second by Councillor Black. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation today. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Gary, we'll ask you to the podium again and just to do a master plan update here.
Okay, so I don't really have too much more to add. The report before you is seeking endorsement in principle with the direction for staff to present phase-in program implementation over the next 5 years as part of annual budget considerations. Part of this as well is if this plan is endorsed, in addition to us bringing individual initiatives seeking approval for moving forward, we'll also be reporting annually on the status of how things are going, how successful initiatives are that we're working on. And I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
All right, thank you, Carrie. And further questions? Screen. Yes, Councillor Graham, and then followed by Deputy Warden Sevis.
Thank you, Warden, and through you. Hi, Carrie. I think it kind of came out from that conversation. I think what I would sort of ask for is less questions about the report, but I think we need to get a better understanding of how we can think about the capacity that's left and start speaking in all of our waste management reports about the implications of that and really understand it. We use this, what I would call like a gossipy term of 10 years, but it doesn't mean anything. It's just this horizon of time that doesn't change or evolve or isn't based on data other than, or if it is based on data, we don't know what data it's based on. We certainly don't know what implications are and what changes made or improvements are having on it. And I think we really need to understand that, to Councillor Whalen's point, we might only have 5 years left. And, you know, it's going to take at least 5 years, probably closer to 10, for the environmental requirements, the land purchase, and all of that investigation that need to go forward to it. So I'm glad to hear that process has started. But I'd really appreciate more sort of data-oriented communication. And I know most of it's going to be estimates, but even in an estimate with percentages and data, we can sort of track that progress at a council level a bit more simplistically, because we are going to have to make very expensive decisions about waste management moving forward in any capacity in every which way. And I think we really need to come up with a better understanding of the specific time left and the specific costs and justification to the investments along the way to prolong that, because that's why I was trying to do that math about well, if we achieve this annual tonnage reduction, that extrapolates into another, 4 months, 5 months. Okay, over 5 years, that gets us to another 2 years. Okay, like we really I think we're at the point now where we're close enough to the finish line unfortunately, of the Bensford site that we need to start understanding it in those sorts of metrics rather than, sort of basic terminology about decades long estimates. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Graham, for that. And good point. And I think maybe this is something that the Joint Waste Committee can certainly with the city, because we do share the landfill. And if we look at tonnages going forward each year to do an estimate, but also to Councillor Armstrong's point as well, we do know that we're increasing, and we do know that 50% is organic. So I think this is all timely, and decisions will have to be made around that time frame as well. Deputy Warden Senes.
Thank you very much. Education is so important of the public. It's critical. And we have to keep hammering home how important it is to divert. And part of this master plan, the recommendations go in that direction. And as to what Councillor Graham said, it does tie in with coming up with proper KPIs. So we do have to look at how much space we have left to know how much success we are getting from all of this. So again, I think it's important to, we've done a pretty good job, not a great job, but we've done a pretty good job. We have to get better.
Thank you. Any further questions? If not, we do have a motion.
Councillor Graham.
Yeah, sorry.
I didn't see your hand there. Sorry.
No,
I think you used your hand, in fact, because I looked down.
No worries. Deputy Warden Senes reminded me of something I meant to add initially, but I think the other sort of, catalyst or metric that we need to consider is growth. Like growth is a big pressure that the region of Peterborough is feeling. So when we're working on those metrics and projections, I think we need to have a line on those graphs that say, yeah, you know what? And with the average accumulated growth that we're seeing, that's going to have an implication on the tonnage that we're seeing. And because we're not getting away from that. That's a reality that's coming fast and furious to the county. And that is going to be a real disruptor in our timelines if they're based on assumptions that don't account for growth in the population.
And I think we will see that duly noted in the planning presentation today. Councillor Wilford and Deputy Warden Senes as well.
Through you, Madam Warden, reading these reports, Carrie, I just have one question. It said that Peterborough and the county are both doing separate environmental assessment process. How come?
Through the warden, so it will be one process combined.
Just
so if that is,
it's like there's two of them, and I'm thinking, why
No.
are you duplicating?
They're costly enough without the duplication. Yeah. Fair, good point. Deputy Warden Senes.
Thank you. Through you, I just want to move the recommendation.
Okay, and looking for a seconder. Anyone on the line? Councillor Watson, all in favor? So moved. Thank you. And we do have consent items. Item 32 from correspondence has been pulled. And I will ask Councillor Amiot to speak to that, please.
Thank you. Yes, through you. I wanted to speak to this. I've had some concerns since, it's been a couple of years, since the summer of 2023, when Ms. Braun began making delegations to some local municipalities and articles began appearing in our local media. And then after we had the presentation to County Council last fall, I started getting all of these emails, as was noted in this article from Kickley. And I had been added to a mail list without my knowledge or my consent. And then I discovered that other members of council had also been added, upper and lower tier. And I tried clicking on some of those links, and then I found myself on her Substack, and then I went down quite a rabbit hole about UN takeovers of local governments, a part of a global agenda, and this narrative about climate change is fake. And it was just crazy. So when I came across this article, it gave me pause and recognizing that my fears were not unfounded. The article states that this is the first case that we know of where AI is being used to target municipal governments in Canada. And unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be the last. And it's very disturbing to me that an AI chatbot is being used to misrepresent science, mislead local governments, and is doing it in such a way that it comes across as it's credible and it's sane and it's civil. And I asked for this item to be added specifically to our agenda because we have been directly targeted by this campaign. And I don't know how the rest of council feels, but I would suggest that we have a motion to share this with Peterborough City Council as well as our lower tiers. We really, I think, need to spread the word about this because we need to be even more vigilant when it comes to our decision making and the spread of disinformation. And I think this article clearly highlights it. I'm not sure if everybody had a chance to read it, but do it. There's a lot of links there to that back it up. And a lot of evidence to refute what has been presented to our council and to other councils. And it's very troubling to me. We've got enough to do, enough on our plate, through a lot of information, and to have stuff, like I said, that comes through that looks very reasonable and very credible, to find out that it's not, and then base our decision making on that. It's very scary. So,
Questions, comments? Deputy Warden Senes?
I just delete her stuff.
oh, I understand.
Yeah, like I don't even bother to waste my time reading it.
But the challenge is, and if you read the article, if I may, is that, you know, it is happening across the country. And, you know, there are certain municipalities and jurisdictions that are making decisions based on that misinformation coming forward. So it's tough. And I know it's not even just council, but I mean, even staff are on there as well too, in terms of the emails. So it's just, as I said, we need to be extra vigilant, right? And we need to be talking amongst ourselves and our colleagues to let others know that this is going on. And as I said, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Thank you. Sheridan?
Through you, I agree with you, Councillor Amia, and I just want to commend council because of the emails that you did receive in this regard. There was no immediate jumping or responding. There was listening to staff and sitting back and taking an appropriate look at it. So thank you for bringing it forward. But I agree that I think we've done a good job of taking a balanced look at things and not just jumping in.
So a motion then, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Warden Clark. Thank you for bringing this forward, Councillor Amy. I guess I would need some IT help on this one because I tried blocking these emails, but they always come through with a slight change in the address. KICLEI. You think you can block that, you block them all. Not a chance. They still get through. So there's got to be some way to block them, but I haven't figured it
I
out.
don't think there is, Councillor Taylor. I tried to too, and yeah. It's very hard to decipher this, so thank you for doing that. If we can reach to IT and get back to council on that, if we can block, that would be great.
Through you, we can look at it, but to your point, when they consistently are changing the sender, it's impossible to do so. It would just, you know, when in doubt, delete. And if they really wanted to get a hold of you, they're going to call you.
And that's interesting that you change your email. That's kind of a red flag too. See no further questions. Coming back to you, Councillor Amiot. So to receive this correspondence and share with the city of Peterborough and our lower tier councils as well. Okay. All right. Second by Councillor Lambshead. All in favor? Thank you. Now just a motion to receive the rest of correspondence, please. Looking on screen. Councillor Huntley and second Councillor Burt. All in favor? So moved. And then just a motion as well to receive all the remaining consent items. Councillor Webb and Councillor Wilford, all in favor. Thank you. And we'll move now to staff reports. And I believe that our General Manager of Engineering and Construction, Doug Saposha, there he is. Welcome, Doug, and I will turn the podium over to you to speak about the school zone changes. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Warden. Good morning, County Council. The staff report before you today is in relation to school zone safety, specifically around enhancements to the existing school zones. So some quick background information. On March 19th, County Council passed the school zone signage and pavement marking policy, as well as the community safety zone policy. And since then, actually, staff have applied both those policies, and the details for each of those schools, I won't go into depth today because they're in the report before you, as well as the multiple appendices. But in general, I do want to say that staff's recommendations align with those policies and will result in enhanced safety for the vulnerable user groups at these locations. It is noted, though, that if approved by council, I do want to highlight that staff's intentions are to have those changes implemented, so in place before the school start for fall of 2025, so this year. I do also just want to take a quick moment and say thanks to all the staff from the clerks division, as well as the engineering and construction divisions, in relation specifically to the consolidated speed limit bylaw, and that's included for council in Appendix D. A lot of work went into, and effort went into compiling the various previous individual speed limit bylaws. That's how we were doing it, individual bylaws in the past. So those were all compiled by staff, and then it was pulled together in Schedule A. You'll see the draft bylaw that's proposed. And really also want to highlight for council that the new proposed format will result in efficiency for any future speed limit or community safety zone changes, as it's all compiled into one report. So in summary, staff recommending that the report be received, and further that the consolidated speed limit bylaw and community safety zone bylaw be approved by council. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. I'll open it up for questions. Councillor Amiot?
Not necessarily a question, but a comment, and then I'm happy to make the motion. But just on behalf of APSLE, I'd like to say thank you for the recommended changes. We've been discussing this for a long time, and reducing that speed, certainly during the school year, makes a lot of sense. And also adding the radar sign to the south as well. Very good. So we're very grateful. Thank you very much. It was a great report.
Thank you for that comment. Any further questions? Councillor Whalen, would you like to move that? Okay, and I'm sorry. Sorry, just hold that thought. Councillor Huntley.
No problem, Chair. I'm happy to second that moving.
Okay.
Anyway, but just I want to congratulate you again, Doug. And I think it's great. It's been a long time coming. I know as a councillor and as a deputy mayor, we still get a lot of conversations about speed in school zones. So this will help a lot. My only comment was one thing that I didn't see considered in here, which I see in a lot of different school zones, are rubble strips prior to school zones. So the painting is great, but it fades pretty quick. But when somebody hits those rubble sticks, they know pretty quickly that they're entering a zone. I don't know whether that was ever in the consideration or not, or maybe for the future.
Yeah, through you, Warden. Great question, and it's actually something we do get from time to time from residents as well. We actually tested rumble strips many years ago now, but we did test it, and we had some issues specifically around winter maintenance. That was the biggest issue. So we did pilot pavement marking rumble strips, which were somewhat effective, but we felt, and this was in the policy before council, we just felt that at this time those weren't required at the school zones. So again, something we could look at in the future, but not included in the current policy.
Further questions? If not, I have a mover, moved by Councillor Whalen, second by Councillor Huntley. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Doug. And Keziah. We will, General Manager of Planning, will turn you over to speak to the official plan here. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Warden. I actually have two related applications on the agenda coming up, and I'm just going to speak to them once, just for brevity.
Okay.
We do need two separate recommendations, so just keep that in mind. The applications are for an official plan amendment and a plan of subdivision in the Lakefield South area. The lands are located at properties 2036 7th Line and 3358 Lakefield Road, together with two additional properties that currently have no municipal address. Triple T Holdings has submitted an application for a 910-unit residential plan of subdivision It consists of 263 lots for single detached dwellings, 65 lots for townhomes, 10 lots for apartment buildings, and then a number of other blocks for environmental protection, stormwater management, parkland, and walkways. A related official plan amendment is also being processed, which facilitates the plan of subdivision. The majority of the site is being redesignated to medium density residential special policy area. And the special policy area permits for a greater density and permits neighborhood commercial uses on the ground floor of apartment buildings. And those neighborhood commercial uses will be limited to an area of 4,000 square meters across the entire development site. The remainder of the site is to be designated environmental constraint, recreation open space, special policy area, and recreation open space. The township is also processing a related zoning bylaw amendment. And we have received a number of studies in support of the application. Those studies have been reviewed either by a public agency or by a peer review consultant acting on behalf of the county or the township. The statutory public meeting for the applications was held in March of this year. There were 28 members of the public in attendance at that meeting, and we did hear a number of concerns from members of the public, both at the meeting and in writing. We have categorized those concerns. They fall into the following categories. So traffic, community character, impact to existing well water supply for neighboring properties, impact of new commercial uses on the existing businesses in the downtown area of Lakefield, light pollution, and limitations on future development of the Lakefield South area. By far, traffic was the largest concern that we had received comments about. Specifically on County Road 29 or Bridge Street, there are concerns about increased traffic congestion, the need for intersection improvements, the single bridge crossing of the river, and road safety risks at peak times. Similar concerns were also raised for traffic along the 7th line, particularly with increased traffic over what is currently experienced today and the possible need for traffic lights at the intersection with Lakefield Road. The county's transportation master plan has already recommended a second crossing in Lakefield, a second bridge crossing, and that's unrelated to this development application. The transportation master plan has identified that need at a high level, but hasn't provided specifics as to the location of that crossing or alignment with the existing road system. And that's something that will be looked at in the future through a separate environmental assessment process and studies and public consultation. A traffic study has been submitted in support of the application, and it was reviewed by Stantec on behalf of both the county and the township. The traffic study identified improvements to be made, and County Public Works has requested draft plan conditions that relate to those improvements. In terms of community character, we heard that the addition of 910 residential units is going to be a significant addition to the village of Lakefield, and that the types of housing proposed are not in keeping with the established form of existing development, and that it's much more dense than what is characteristic for the village. The majority of the lands will be developed with single detached dwellings, and that will buffer the existing single detached homes in the area from the higher forms of density that are proposed towards the center of the development, so the apartment buildings and townhomes. We understand that the addition of that many homes to the village of Lakefield will significantly increase the existing population, but the application will be phased in over a period of 20 plus years. So the growth will be incremental over time. It's not that many people arriving all at once. In terms of existing or impact to the existing water supply, a number of residents located in close proximity to the development area have homes which are currently serviced by private wells and septic systems. And based on the feedback that we heard, some of those wells are reported to go dry during the summer months, depending on the year. And the owners have concerns that the site will negatively impact those wells and septic systems. A geotechnical investigation was submitted in support of the development application, and that study was reviewed by our peer review consultant. They were satisfied with the comments relating to the impact on existing wells, and the township has included draft plan conditions which require detailed engineering design and reports, including further geotechnical investigations, which would review groundwater conditions as the development progresses through each phase. So that will be monitored as as the development progresses. Both reports include a detailed review of the applicable official plan and provincial planning legislation, and we have concluded that the applications conform or are consistent with those policies. Concerns raised by members of the public have been considered and will be addressed or mitigated through zoning, detailed design, and draft plan conditions. And we have recommended that the applications be approved and notice of decision be provided in accordance with the Planning Act.
Thank you, through you, Warden. This official plan amendment and the growth that's going to happen in Lakefield South has been talked about for all the time I've been on council, and that's been 20 years. And we're finally getting something coming to council where we're going to see some homes built. The suggestion that it's going to be over 20 years, I would suggest that it will be more like 30 to 35 years before it's all built out. Triple T already has the development in Lakefield of 91 homes, and they're still constructing to finish off that development. So, and that was 7 years ago, just for that small development. So I think that it's going to take time, and over that time, people will get used to the growth in Lakefield. There were a lot of people who live there that don't want to see a change to the village, but progress has changed. So that's the way it goes. Anyway, I'd be happy to move the recommendation.
So there's two motions, so we'll do the official plan amendment first. So moved by Deputy Warden Sendis and second by Councillor Armstrong. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, and then we're moving on to the plan of subdivision, and the motion is in our package for that. So I'm looking for a mover for that, and looking on Councillor Black and Councillor Burt. All in favor? Thank you. You're not off the hook yet, Keziah. Move to the next in our package, consent application B325 from Kevin Monaghan.
Yes, through you, Warden. So council has requested to be advised when the Land Division Committee approves a consent that is contrary to the county official plan. With that, County Council has the option to appeal the decision of the Land Division Committee if the appeal period timing window permits. At the committee's last meeting in May, application B-325 was approved by the committee contrary to our department's recommendation. The property is described as agricultural in the county official plan, and new lots in the agricultural area are only permitted for new farm parcels or residence surplus to a farming operation. Our staff report indicated that the application did not meet those criteria and had recommended that the application be denied. Land Division Committee approved the application subject to conditions, and we're just barely meeting the timing window. Today is the last day of appeal. We have until 4:30 this afternoon to submit that. So we are seeking your direction as to whether or not you wish to appeal or not appeal the decision of the Land Division Committee.
Thank you, Keziah. I'll open it up to questions or comments. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Warden Clark. And thank you for the opportunity to speak to this. I chair Land Division Committee. On Land Division Committee, we have Councillor Jim Whalen, Hart Webb, Heather Watson, and Lori Burt. Just for a little context for County Council members who have not been part of Land Division Committee over the years, we certainly have a high regard for our planning staff's opinion. Okay, so we don't go against their recommendations very often, and we don't take that decision lightly. Our planning staff, as well as the municipal planning staff, live in a black and white world. Something either conforms to the official plan or it does not. It's as simple as that, and that's the way it really should be. Land Division Committee have the ability to look at it from a little broader vision. And sometimes, sometimes the opinions are subjective. We've seen a number of times where county planning staff have suggested an application, let's say, does not conform to a municipal official plan, and the municipal planners will have the opposite opinion. So it's not a perfect science. It's not always black and white. As I said, we have the ability to look at it from a little bit bigger picture. And in this case, the reason that it does not conform or comply to the county official plan was it was on land that was designated agriculture. But upon taking a deeper dive, and the applicants were there, and they did submit their own planning report. Lori Bird brought this with you today. Thank you, Lori. It was really impressive. It contains a lot of information, a lot of good pictures. Our planning staff also had their report. But we were convinced upon hearing all of the evidence that the land in question was not suitable for agriculture due to the soil condition and the topography. This was proven with GIS and Google Earth maps. We looked at them, and the applicant himself. So in consideration of that, as well as some other factors, that was safety of moving farm equipment up and down the road, and that would no longer be necessary, and some other factors, we decided that there was no arable land being taken out of agriculture by the granting of this 1 acre rural residential lot. So we said yes. As Keziah explained, county council have the ability to appeal that decision if they see fit. I have in all the years I sat on land division committee, and this has happened a few times, not often, but has happened. I've never seen where county council appealed a decision of LDC, but that is the right of county council. But if you want to do it, they got to do it quickly. They got to do it by 4:30 p.m. today.
Thank you.
I don't know if any other committee members have something to add to that. I tried to summarize it for you, give you a sort of an objective overview.
Yes, Councillor Bird.
Thank you through you, Warden, and thank you for that, Joe. I think when we talk about arable land, the owner had mentioned that that land basically had been used and stripped, and some of the aggregate was used for building the 115 at some point, and then at that point it was never rehabilitated, and they had spent tens of thousands of dollars trying to amend the soil and different options to get it back into usable land. And even though it was zoned agriculture, and I think all of us walked into that meeting thinking, well, we can't do anything with agriculture, but it came pretty clear that it was not. And they have tried for a number of years to farm that land, and it wasn't working. So I think this was a good option, as Joe said. So that's about all my comment. Thank you.
Okay, further questions? If not, Councillor Burt, would you like to move that? Councillor Taylor, second. Actually, that be received and that an appeal not be filed. Not be filed. Okay, good. All in favor. It's nice to see common sense, and that mapping doesn't always serve us well. So it's good decision. And Keziah, on to the next comments around the ERO and Bill 17.
Yeah, thank you. Through your warden, this is my last report. We do have new legislation that's being introduced. It's Bill 17, the Protect Ontario by Build Faster and Smarter Act. Our report has recommended that the information be received and that the report be submitted to the Environmental Registry of Ontario as the formal response from the county on that proposed bill. I'll let the report do the speaking, but the bill or the legislation is intended to make it easier and faster to build new homes and infrastructure in the province. It makes changes to a number of acts, but for the purposes of our report, we have focused on the Planning Act and the Development Charges Act. For the Planning Act, there's several key changes proposed. The first is intended to streamline approvals for new schools by permitting them as of right on lands that are designated residential. We have no concerns with that, as it doesn't conflict with any of our existing processes or policies. It is also proposing to make changes to studies that are required to deem an application complete, and also require municipalities to accept studies from certain certified professionals. Specifically with the studies that are to be excluded from deeming an application complete, we have no concerns, as they're typically not studies that we ask for in our local context. The legislation is also proposing a change which would require approval authorities to accept studies where the information or material is prepared by a person authorized to practice a prescribed profession. And it's unclear whether those provisions are to be added to the Planning Act are intended to just deem an application complete when the study is completed by a qualified professional, or if it's intended to curtail the use of peer review consultants. If it's the latter, if it's to prevent municipalities from using a peer review consultant to conduct an independent review of a study, then we would object to that. But if it's just for the purposes of deeming the application complete, then we have no concerns. And lastly, Bill 17 has introduced as of right variations to setback requirements. So the county is not the approval authority for and does not process minor variance applications, but it would have potential to impact all 8 municipalities within the county. And the intent is to reduce the volume of minor variance applications and permit more development as of right. We haven't done a thorough review of it, but at a high level, we do have concerns that there could be the unintended consequence of negatively impacting the natural environment or allowing a noxious use next to a nearby sensitive land use by allowing those as of right variations. And I'll just pass it over to Jen if you have any comments on the DCs.
So from a DC perspective, there's a few changes we don't have any concerns with, primarily being around the exemption of development charges on the residential portion of long-term care homes. But the other changes that are being made are really to support the province's encouragement of municipalities to either reduce or eliminate their DCs. So there's changes that are being made within the legislation, essentially saying municipality isn't required to do a background study or a public meeting if they're reducing their DCs or determining not to do indexing of DCs. There's other provisions where if you're applying for rezoning or site plan approval, you can freeze your DCs at that time, knowing that it'll take time, and traditionally DCs increase. Now they're proposing to change the legislation to say it'll be the lower of, again, with the hope that municipalities are going to reduce or eliminate their DCs. And then I think the most significant one, not that reducing and eliminating DCs isn't very significant, but Bill 17 is also proposing that DCs no longer be payable at building permit, but at the earlier of actual occupancy of the home, or when the occupancy permit is issued. That's problematic for 2 reasons. Obviously, one, there's a cash flow implication. Municipalities will be getting their DCs at a later date. And I think the bigger issue perhaps is the burden that it's going to place on the lower tiers, because the lower tiers collect development charges. Right now in the DC Act, the trigger when you pick it up, you have to pay your DCs before you can get your building permit. So there's that guarantee that municipalities will get their DCs. If it's changed to occupancy, the lower tiers are going to have to figure out a means of securing those development charge amounts to make sure that you actually do get them. Otherwise, the alternative is going to be to transfer the cost to the homeowner upon occupancy. So we'll need to work through that process.
Thank you for that insight. I also just will add that having been at FCM in Ottawa, the Prime Minister spoke and said that they would be looking at refunding 50% of all DC charges. So we'll see if that comes out in legislation, but that was one of the Prime Minister's announcements at FCM. Any questions? Yes, Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Warden Clark. Thank you both Jennifer and Keziah for bringing this forward. Jennifer, it may be even more problematic than you're aware of, because at the lower tier where we deal with building permits and construction, I can tell you that there's too many homes where the homeowner never does apply for an occupancy permit. It goes on for years. So if that's the trigger for a DC fee, we're gonna be a long time getting it. So I don't know if the province is aware of that, but that's a reality.
Good point. Councillor Black.
Yeah, thank you, through Warden. Yeah, that DC thing is certainly going to be a problem that has to be worked out. But thanks for the report. And there's a lot of changes coming with Bill 17 and Bill 5 with respect to building and planning. The number of studies have recent experience with some studies that we shake our head at why we need to do a traffic study for 16-unit building on a road that had a 300-student school on it at one point, and we also had to do water studies, water flow studies, and sewage studies that cost us another $10,000 on a residential road. So there are studies, and so I get that there's reasons why the bills are looking at those sorts of things. The other thing is around peer review. The folks that do the studies for developers and not-for-profits that are trying to build are the same professionals you send your peer review to. So they stamp with their professional designation on them. Their performance is monitored through different legislative bodies. The problem with peer review is it's often sole sourced, which again doesn't necessarily give you a competitive price to get it done. There's a lot of scope creep that happens in these sorts of things, and they cause more project delays. So I think there has to be a lot more focus on multiple submissions and the scope of what you're asking those things for, and really limiting peer review to projects that really will transfer property to the municipality. Those are important ones, obviously, that if we're going to take over a road or something like that, we got to make sure that it's built properly, those sorts of things. But many of the projects that go through multiple rounds of site plan reviews or official plan amendments, those sorts of things, there's nothing in there that the township will ever take over or the municipality will ever take over. So I think while I agree with many of the points in your report, definitely something has to be done in those areas. And maybe it's not what they're saying in the report is appropriate. It's too far, but definitely those are the things that we hear out in the public and people calling us about their projects. I support your report and I will support the report, but those are definitely things that are slowing down development for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Comment, Keziah, on that?
Thank you for those comments. I'm hopeful that our new official plan has more streamlined terms of reference. So I'm hopeful that will funnel the discussion in terms of peer review going forward.
All right. Councillor Graham, is that your arm to receive then? Okay. All right. And seconder for that, Councillor Armstrong, all in favor? Thank you. Notice of motion. Does any member of council have a notice of motion? I've received none and I see none. I will go now to announcements. So does anyone have anything they'd like to bring forward? Okay. Yes, Councillor Graham.
Through you, Warden, I just wanted to make the announcement that next weekend we're looking forward to the 174th rendition of the Millbrook Fair. So by all means, anyone welcome to join us in the celebration. The events kick off on Thursday night and run through Sunday afternoon. So we're looking forward to celebrating the fair once again this year. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful fair it is. Thank you. I have a few. Just June the 2nd to the 8th is our local food week in Ontario. So just encouraging everyone to shop local and visit your farmers markets, grocery stores and farm gates and look for that buy local in Ontario signs. Councillor Wilford.
Our Peter Robinson Bicentennial and Asphodel Norwood Homecoming Picnic will be on June 22nd at 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. There's live music, outdoor family games, indoor family crafts, market. Sorry. Tree dedication. Just to let you know, thank you very much.
Okay, very good. Also, just to, we announced here that May the 13th was the Provincial Day of Action on Litter. And I just want to thank our waste management staff, Harriet Walker and Sue Horton, because they reached out to volunteers, and we have several roads that have been adopted and cleaned up with litter, and I'm going to name them. I think we've got the screen going. So Peterborough Junior Farmers, that was County Road 2. Peterborough Bassmasters, County Road 23. The Peterborough Kawartha Rotary Club, County Road 32. St. Anne's Knights of Columbus, 10785, County Road 1. We had Millbrook and District Lions, County Road 10, St. John's Anglican Church at Ida, County Road 10 as well. They both shared that. St. Thomas Anglican Church, County Road 21, Whiskey Hollow Cattle Company, County Road 45, the Unitarian Fellowship of Peterborough, County Road 4, Warsaw and District Lions Club, County Road 4 as well. And I would be in trouble if I did not mention the Keene Lions Club, and that's County Road 34. So anyway, I just want to thank both Harriet and Sue, because they coordinated this and took our 6 summer students as well. And they done litter cleanup at the roadside and water's edge at the end of the causeway. And we know that's very important. That is utilized so much by the public, and we want it looking great. And it's also at both ends of Gannon's Narrow Bridge. So anyway, I want to extend my thank you from council for that important project. Also, today at noon, we're going to raise the pride flag to show our commitment to building an inclusive society here at the courthouse today at noon. So I hope that many of you can join us then. We have no closed session, so we will go right to bylaws.
We have 3 bylaws on the agenda today. The first one is for the OPA that was on the agenda earlier. And the second is for the speed limit bylaw. And the third one is the community safety zone.
All right, thank you. A mover for those. And I'm looking at Councillor Martin and seconder Councillor Burt. All in favor? Thank you. Our confirming bylaw, mover for that, Councillor Lambshead and Councillor Whalen. All in favor? Thank you. And motion to adjourn. Councillor Huntley and Councillor Nelson, all in favor. Thank you.